We're butchers. We have a butcher shop.
One thing about being a whole animal butcher shop is we have a lot of fat, and one way to use that fat, so we've heard, is to use it for baking. We don't know anything about baking, so we are gonna meet with our friend Petra here at Petee's Pies to talk about how to use that fat in baking.
And make some pies!
Welcome to my kitchen.
So today we brought pork leaf lard, beef suet, pork loin, beef shank, and marrow bones. I've never made pie dough with these animal fats before.
They're almost pure fat.
Yeah.
Unlike butter, butter has a certain water content. But what makes shortenings easier to work with is that it doesn't turn back to like a greasy oil at room temperature. It stays pretty solid. It's gonna be really interesting to see how these flavors compare.
So based on those flavors, what are we making today?
We have the lard, and I was thinking we could make a pork pie that I've never made before. It's called a Cheshire Pork Pie. It's like an old, it's a centuries old pie. I thought we would make sort of the more traditional version of mincemeat pie. Since we have the suet for the beef pie.
You just took this suet, sliced it super thin to make, you know, kind of these shards.
Lard crust. It was so different cutting the lard versus the suet. Like you can't even really cut it because it sticks to the knife. The goal is to have these little tiny sheets. So the fat is a little more interspersed in this one. We used more water and it interacted with the gluten more in the other one. And it makes sense for that filling to have that kind of crust.
So fillings.
A Cheshire Pork Pie is like pork loin layered with apples, and the seasoning is mostly just wine and nutmeg. I never ever cook meat without like garlic and or onions. So it's, you know, like this is kind of like, oh, is it gonna be okay? These are Northern Spy and Crispin. They're from New York State, and they're both really good, like pie apples. This is nutmeg and sugar and flour and salt. It's like an old like colonial or like pre-colonial recipe. And those, I don't know if you've read a lot of those, but they're so weird. They're written as like narratives. And they're like, cook it until it is good. And then you're just like, oh, okay, I know what that means. I'm gonna like pour some wine in there.
Like literally we're just pouring wine in there.
To me, like pouring all this liquid in a pie freaks me out.
Really, it's like that terrifies me.
Yeah, and that's why it's so strange to me that there's no like added starch. I was like, I can't do this without adding a little bit of flour to assuage my anxiety. So just to let some of the steam escape.
What is a mincemeat pie?
Just think about like mincing the meat. Like it's like meat minced fine with apples and a lot of dried fruits. It comes from a time when there wasn't really a border between like meat pies and sweet pies, and a lot of sweet flavors would be tied up in meat pies. Every year I use some of the last year's mince filling and mix it in, so it's sort of like Solera aged. It's like, it's got black currants. Chopped apples, chopped sour cherries, all from New York, and then candied orange and citron, nutmeg, cinnamon, clove, the kind of spices that they used to always use in various meat pies to combine like the sweet and savory flavors. Do you want to chop some suet, to mince some suet? This is the butter crust, by the way. So this is like, we could try the 3 different kinds of animal fats in this crust. We have the marrow bone.
I will admit I only brought a marrow bone and wanted to do this because I've seen it once. I think another restaurant has done it, and it looks so cool to just see a marrow bone. Otherwise, I have no idea what goes in it.
We have the shank that we can braise like a beef stew kind of pie. I think the funny thing about meat pies is that sometimes you're like making a whole dish and then you're cooking it all over again in the pastry.
Yeah.
And that is kind
Makes
of,
sense.
yeah, like you could just eat a beef stew.
Yeah.
But it's fun to have it in a pastry instead.
Of course.
It's a 50-pound sack of flour.
Cool.
Straight from the freezer, because we're gonna be using our hands to make the dough.
Okay.
And so it's really important that it's nice and cold to sort of protect the fat. We don't want the fat to emulsify.
You know, I'm kind of feeling like this is somewhat like sausage making. We're talking about emulsifications.
Yeah.
We're keeping the flour cold the way we keep pork cold at the shop.
This is salt and sugar. I dissolve it in the water. I want it to mix in and sort of season the dough. These pieces of fat that are in there in the oven, they're just gonna like sort of like fry the dough and make it like crispy and interesting.
I'll just start cubing this up and we can start browning everything off.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's fry it in the beef suet.
Yeah, we're gonna have to fry it in some sort of oil. Why not fry it in its own fat?
Yeah, right. When I was playing around with it, I like browned it and cooked it in stout, imperial stout. So with the bone marrow, should we do that?
I mean, we're here.
I think that this crust is going to be somewhat impermeable because you know it's just
Feels
like,
pretty
sturdy. Yeah.
Are we gonna put a lid on it?
Yeah.
That's what they're called, right?
A pie lid, yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna put the pie lid on it.
Someone studied up before they showed up today.
Carrots, parsnip, Yukon Golds. I guess we would, put the bone right in the middle and then put the filling around it.
I guess, right?
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Okay.
All right. There's a big bone in the middle of a pie. What do you guys want to name this pie?
I don't know. It has stout, shank, has bones. It's sort of a stew.
It kind of is a corpse pie. I like that. I like corpse pie because
Corpse Reviver wasn't already an established drink. Yeah. The Death Eater. A, Harry Potter reference. I'm with you. 2, I love it. Death Eater.
We will brush it with some egg wash so that this part gets as nice and brown as the outer edges. And then bake it. I think this is gonna need to bake for a while, like probably an hour 15.
Get these pies in the oven?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start like kind of dinner and then kind of dessert.
Oh, that makes
And
sense.
then, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the lard crust, and you can tell already
Oh, wow.
like how
Wow,
you can hear it. It shatters.
That is so flaky.
the pork is cooked.
Oh, and it's really good with the apples.
What do you think of the crust?
It made all the right noises.
What do you think?
It's like eating pork chops and applesauce, kind of. But
Yeah.
And a pie.
and a pie. Ooh, the lard crust is really good.
The crust is great.
I mean, like,
Super flaky, delicate, but also kind of hearty.
I really, really like the crust a whole lot. I'm not sure if I would ever like order this pie. It's like it's having an identity crisis between being like savory and sweet. I'm really, really excited to try this one.
Okay.
This is beautiful looking. I almost feel bad.
I'm very excited. This is my first mincemeat pie.
yeah. It's so like dark and rich and boozy. It's not super different from when I substitute suet with butter, but I think that when I do that, the butter ends up sort of separating a little when I bake it. So this seems to meld in, like the fat seems to meld in with the filling a little better than butter does.
It's decadent. I like how tart it is.
Yeah, when you get a currant, it's like, whoo.
I think the fat being mixed into the actual pie filling like actually helps out. I've never had this and this is really, really good.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That'll do.
I really feel good about calling this the Death Eater. Seeing the layers
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this.
Ooh. Oh. Ooh.
Oh yeah. As long as we're here. Just a little marrow. 3 forks like vying for a bite. Great.
Wow. There's no lack of beef flavor.
Yeah, all over.
Holy
Beef for
moly.
Days and days.
That stout really worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
It's got adding like a little bit of sweetness to it, which is great.
Go for it, go for it.
I think that maybe working with tallow in the future, I still had the Bauer super cold, but use the fat a little softer, make it a little easier to like roll out and everything, and then have it incorporated more.
The top still has the same effect that the leaf lard had of just like having that crunch and then it just like dissolves. It's not too chewy.
I like that the vegetables are all like still distant. They're not mushy.
Now we've seen a butter crust, leaf lard, and then we've seen the suet crust, but also meat in a pie.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to go back to the shop now and we have like a lot more studying to do and some experimenting of our own.
The suet crust, like that you could do another vegetarian version, and then the crust itself would stand up.
Yeah.
Like, it's so flavorful.
Yeah.
But it was way easier than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
I was actually pretty scared to put like all of that liquid in each of the pies. I didn't think they were gonna stand up.
Well, fruit still works in pie. Beef works in pie. Pork, not so sure.
Maybe, a little thinner next time.
So what do you think? You
I'm closing Petee's pie company. It's gonna be Meaty's Pie Company.
Meaties. For more episodes of Primetime, click here.
Yum, 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 yum.